So good afternoon, everybody. It's been raining today. A lot of people are happy about that. My next guest today on the Business Spotlight might certainly be happy with that. So we'd like to welcome Padraig Hennessy from Terra Nutritech. Padraig, great to see you today. How are you?
I am great. I'm great.
So you like the rain?
It's needed in my clients are screaming for rain at the moment.
There we go. There we go. So can we tell our audience here today, what is it that you do and how long have you been doing it?
Sure. So Padraig Hennessy, I'm CEO of Terra Nutritech. We are a leader in precision nutrition. So what that really means is we've developed technology to accurately put liquid supplements into water systems for animals. We've also built a manufacturing facility to produce those liquid supplements as well. For those of you not in farming circles, what I do, simplest way to sum it up is we've developed an espresso machine to put Barocca for cows into water.
Okay, so you use the water supply and you put these supplements into the water that they use.
That's correct. So animals have been bred really, for milk production or for weight gain for beef. So they actually need quite a lot of supplements, quite good nutrition in order to get the most out of them. And we're a part of that story, I suppose. We put in, like magnesium, selenium, copper, vitamins, iodine, etc. And that helps to get the most out of the animal, be it fertility, be it weight gain, be it less health issues, whatever it is. We're part of the nutrition story for those animals.
Excellent. And that is just, so your market is kind of pretty huge. It's kind of, I presume that goes across equine and bovine and all the different.
It does. We focus primarily on dairy cows in Ireland, and we have some beef farms. And then we are actually moving internationally as well, with conversations going on with people in, especially poultry. It's quite a big market.
Just tell me, being an ignorant person about farming, that so the tech part of it. So you're supplying nutrients into the water as supplements. So where does the tech part come into?
So the tech part is actually getting those nutrients in accurately. So the big problem with technology before to get liquid minerals in, and why they were never really widespread, was it was all proportional. So for every liter, you might put in 5 ml of supplements. But the problem with that is, especially in Ireland, today is lovely and sunny. The cows might drink 70 litres. Tomorrow it might be raining and they might drink 30 litres. So suddenly they're not getting what they need. So we've built technology that at doses per animal per day, we're constantly changing the concentration based on water consumption to get it in.
Well, guys, I hope, like me, that now explains it to an idiot. So I now actually understand. That's very well put. Thank you for that. So tell me, COVID came along, the big C word. What were the implications for you, Jim?
First few weeks were scary. So our model in Ireland is we deliver onto farms. So those first few weeks, all the rumors flying around, nobody knew what was going to happen. We every single vehicle that we had was in operation. We were delivering in months worth of products into farms, because there is huge health implications for some of our clients if they're not getting minerals. Grass petting, for example, cows can actually die with it very quickly. So those first few weeks were very, very scary. We got a lot of product out very quickly. Then the next few months, the scary element was the supply of the raw materials, so we could continue blending those products. Thankfully, all of that smoothed out. We were an essential service, so we kept going. Some of our finance team, some of our tech team, they all went remote. Obviously, our manufacturing staff, they all continue to come into our office, as our client support staff did as well. So it was like every business, it was a strange time, but thankfully in the industry we were in, we weren't actually affected too negatively. We did grow. We were held back in some of our international expansion, and that would have been the biggest the biggest implications for us, I suppose, because we couldn't get onto planes and travel and sell, basically.
Sure. So therefore, this obviously kind of probably brought in a couple of new actions onto you for your pandemic. You mentioned there that you were sitting in kind of a month's supplies or 3 months supplies even, whereas you wouldn't normally do that. So it was kind of a hit and miss scenario for a while that you had to test and measure, I presume.
Exactly. And some of it is there's times nearly where we became too responsive to our clients, and being too responsive means higher costs.
Yeah.
So
yes,
and it wasn't expected and it wasn't needed. It was just we kept upping our game, and maybe we went too far. So we did learn through that going. A lot of our clients were happy actually not to see us as often, because There were some farmers, when they saw us too often, they were going, well, that's you must be, you still need to get paid to come in. So
yes,
is this being reflected in the price I'm paying for my product?
yeah. So find that balance.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
You still need to get in there to get the relationship and all the rest, but potentially we were getting in too often at times.
yeah. It's interesting, and other business that we would do with, I would say the same thing about finding that balance, no matter what product or service that you're selling. So tell me, when you were growing up as a young lad, was this what you always wanted to do?
Yes and no. When I was growing up, I never saw a future for myself in agriculture. You know, it was, I suppose, obviously I came from the farming side. I didn't think too much about the business side. I certainly knew from the farming side, our farm wasn't big enough to support, you know, to really going forward. It was 100 acres. I always wanted to run my own business. That was always been my dream from a very, very young age. I just never knew what it was going to be in. And I suppose it's serendipity the way I ended up back in ag, and I kind of, I was actually launching a business for a UK company with On Post as a way to pay cash for internet payments. That was right at when the credit crunch came. I got an email one Friday. I was laid off. I had agreed with my brother to take the following week off to help him with his business in ag at his very first ploughing match. Because I always had the gift of gab, so he decided to utilize that for 3 or 4 days down at the ploughing match. So I went down to the ploughing match, and I've been in the ag industry ever since.
Fantastic. Sounds like a great story. So tell me, so far, what are the biggest issues you've overcome in business?
Expectations, probably. Having realistic expectations. I've always been an optimist, and I've probably had to dial that back a bit because everything takes a bit longer than you think. We do a lot of R&D here in the company, and it always takes a lot longer and costs a lot more, and you never sell quite as much as you thought you would in the first place. So it's being realistic in your cash flow models, and that's, for me, that's been my the only thing that's actually gives me stress in the business, to be honest, is cash flow.
Isn't it funny, because and there are two words people forget about: cash flow. And they go, the accountant looks after that. No. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I know my cash flow inside out, and I know if there's a dip coming, or
perfect.
If there's excess, there's never excess, there's always a dip.
And that leads me to the next question, being in the business I'm in. Who's the best coach you ever had?
I've had a few mentors through the LEO and through Enterprise Ireland. Probably the biggest, I'm going to say, kick up the arse I've ever gotten would have been, we were coasting along for the first 5 years, and David Walsh and Al Kelly of Netwatch, Tom, my co-founder and brother, he knew them personally, so they took a meeting with us just to give us a bit of advice for an hour. We had some big decisions to make in the business about building a manufacturing plant, and I went into them, and they were asking some questions like, who's doing marketing, and who's doing sales, who's doing production, who's doing customer relations, who's doing accounts. And I could see them going, oh no. And I walked out of the meeting, and I felt about that all. And it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, because one of the big things they said in that meeting was, guys, you've got this amazing story. Why are you not telling your story? 9 months later, by telling that story, we had won the National Enterprise Awards.
Fantastic.
A week after that, we won Google Adopt a Startup. So, I really embraced what they said, and we transformed the business on the back of it, to be honest.
Isn't that interesting? And I think that will resonate with an awful lot of people, because those questions are typical questions that a coach will ask somebody, and it's amazing. You come away saying, did I learn from that? Now, what actions will I take from it? And you went and you did it, and you got success. Love to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really good. What have you learned most about yourself?
I suppose I classify myself as, I'm not an expert in anything, but I'm reasonably good at most things, and I think that's very important. If you're not an expert, you hire in people to be better than you at their specific tasks. But I need to know a small bit about everything. So
be a generalist, not a specialist.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent.
My job is to get the team going and talk to all the team. So I need to know a little bit about a lot, and not a lot about a little.
Ladies and gentlemen, this man is that coaching. You can see it, the wisdom coming out here. This is fantastic stuff. So tell me, if you started your business again, or what would you do differently?
I'd start to tell our story better, quicker. I would probably be more ambitious from the very start. We were cautious because we were entering into a new business, probably overly cautious for the first 2 or 3 years. One thing that I would do the same. We took the decision very early on to bootstrap, slower growth, bootstrap, but retain all ownership within the business. I'm very happy I did that, talking to some other of my peers who have raised millions, but they would turn around to me and say they've lost control. It's a much more high stress, difficult journey. Luckily we've grown quite quickly, and we've retained all of the ownership. So now we actually are in a position to grow internationally while owning all of the company ourselves.
Fantastic, which leads me nicely to the next business. So what does the future look like for Nutritech? And
Right.
what do you think the challenges are that you're going to be facing?
So the future is bright. We're in a multi-billion industry, to be honest. So we just launched in France this year, and we see significant growth there. We're launching in Romania next month. We're talking to numerous other countries, so there's huge growth potential. One of the biggest challenges, I think, going forward is staff, is getting really good staff. I'm a believer in finding the right talent, and getting them, training them, retaining them. And that's going to be one of the biggest challenges, especially staff here in Ireland, where you're up against multinationals. And it's a difficult thing for SMEs to be up against multinationals.
Yeah, we find that as a common challenge to nearly every business that we talk to. But again, there's a way of doing it, and different ways of doing it, rather than just sticking a nose up in LinkedIn or Facebook or something. You got to be different. But I suppose, coming back to another thing we'd look at there, you got to have a culture in your business which can attract people, because when you've got a workforce, they can do it for you, which is great.
And you got to have a story as well. People buy into the business,
100%.
buy into the story, and I'm a big believer in that too.
Fantastic. So tell me, what was the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
That's a tough one. Would be to live your life while you can, as in go out, travel the world, and enjoy things. And when you decide to settle down in your mid-20s, as a lot of people do, go for it, and go hard.
So in other words, don't be afraid to live. A lot of people never did it. They just never lived. Absolutely. And young kids, I'm sure you had, when I would say young, in their 20s, and I've encouraged them, take that year, go for it, go and enjoy, go and travel, go and experience. And then, because it's enough time to work, enough time to put things together. Completely agree. 100%. Fantastic. So for people who want to know more about you, they go to Terra Nutritech, which is on the screen there, .com, if I'm correct. .com. And on there, they need you to contact you, Padraig Hennessy, to have just a quick chat. Is there a contact button there? They could come in and say, I'd love to have a chat with you. Or
they can send a general email in, or indeed contact me directly at Padraig, Padraig, at terranutritech.com.
Fantastic. Padraig, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate you taking part in this. I wish you every success in your journey. It sounds like it's a very interesting business with all the growth going on in France and Romania. And we hope to be hearing a lot more from this in the future. The very best of luck to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom.